I want you guys to meet someone special to me by the name of Deanna Keating. Example A. So I'm going to do her intro before then we speak to her. So Deanna, mother of, a bit weird when I was speaking about you, mother of three beautiful young children, and a very devoted and great mother at that. She's a senior partner of an executive search business, and she's also a coach as part of that. So some people might think of, executive search and kind of recruitment. Yes, she does that. She places senior executives in roles. But the really cool thing about her job is that she does a lot of coaching in that to make sure that people are actually getting what's aligned with them. It's not just like, let's get you into a job. It's like, let's find the right home for you so you can, be true to yourself and honor your own values. Yeah.
Be happy and content every single day.
Be happy and content every single day. She's the founder and an ambassador of the Carl Webb Foundation, which is fantastic and does a lot of work to support motor neuron disease. She's an ex-Australian water polo player, so used to being a high performer and has been her entire life. She's Brene Brown Dare to Lead Coach qualified. She's a Brene Brown coach. She's also an accredited Awaken Lifestyles Network coach, is fantastic. She's training to swim for the English Channel, which is pretty cool and exciting. And she also happens to be my sister-in-law. So full disclosure there. And there's a reason that I have got Deanna on today specifically. And because I've had the benefit, a lot of people come to us and we see them when they're ready to do the work. And they come and join us when they're ready to do the work and they're ready to get started. But I have the benefit in this instance of seeing and knowing Deanna for many years before she started her inner work, right? And so that's why I thought it was really so valuable to get someone on to go, okay, this is where we were well before we started. What were my thoughts, feelings, what was my life like prior to actually working on myself? And then what's happened, how have things evolved, where am I at now? Yeah. So first of all, I want to say a massive welcome and thank you for being here and thank you for being up for this. Really, really appreciate it. It's not easy, guys, coming and sitting in front of the camera in the studio and talking to random people on the internet when you can see all the names on the screen and the comments popping up just to make you feel really good. So welcome.
Thanks.
I guess one of the things I want to touch on, and I'm probably going to throw you under the bus here a little bit, but like I just said, the main reason I wanted to bring you on, Deanna, is because I remember when we first met, and my sense was that you got a bit of this. You were a bit like, oh my god, what is this guy doing with my sister? What the fuck is he teaching her? Where is she going? Like, I don't know what this woo-woo stuff is that these guys are doing or teaching and experiencing. Is that actually what it was like? Because we never had this conversation.
No, we haven't.
Is that?
Bus throwing moment. No. Somewhat, yeah. And back then, I think, how long, I would have been, not even 30, was I? Or maybe early 30s. And yeah, it was just a different type of energy than we had ever really been around as a family, and I had ever really been around. And yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was pretty foreign to me. And then back then I had 3 young kids, was working really hard. I was just doing all of the things all the time and not taking much time to ever really think about any of these concepts or things the way that you live your life. So yeah, it was a bit foreign. So
what was that like back then? Because I remember, it was like, wow, you're obviously a really impressive person. You working your bum off. You've got a really good job and career. You're obviously an ex-Australian water polo player. You're also a fantastic mum of these 3 kids. Like, that's what's kind of was going on. What was it like living life back then before starting doing any work on yourself?
Yes, I just don't really. I was just running. I just thought that that's what you did when you've got young kids and you're, full-time mum, full-time working. And you're grinding, like that's just what you do. Your life, you're allowed to, you have a free pass to just run really hard and be really tired and not make time for much, because that's what you do when you're a mum and you're working and building a career. So I probably didn't think too much about anything else outside of that.
Yeah, okay. And then how did you start to kind of come into this space, like working on yourself? Like, what are the kind of was it things happening in your life? Were there things happening in your world? How did you actually come about doing some work on yourself? How did that happen?
I think it's interesting that I believe that there's a moment in time where the universe kind of
Can
bears
I just get
down.
the movie mic up?
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
dude. It's just sorry guys, if we're struggling to hear
Sorry,
Deanna,
guys.
we're gonna
Maybe I need
maybe
to-
here or there.
Maybe I need to be louder, which is
Speak
odd
up.
for me. Okay, hang on, let's get that bit. How's
That's
that? Is that better?
Is that better, guys? Yeah,
Good?
we can hear it. Very good. Thanks, Trent.
Great, thanks. It kind of just happened, like, yeah, I think there is a moment in time, I think, where the universe kind of bears down and sort of grabs you and it's like, you know, shit's gonna get real for you. And it did, I just started to feel different in my relationship, in my intimate relationship, feel different as a woman, as a human, as a parent. And I wasn't really sure what was going on. It was kind of going, sort of getting away with me. And so I started to go and see, started to sort of seek help outside of Awakened Lifestyles with a counsellor or therapist, and she was really good. So I started doing work on myself probably 2019 around what these changes were. And then, yeah, it just got the change in myself, which I wasn't sure what was happening, just got sort of quicker and quicker. And it led to me becoming really sad and wanting more out of my life and wanting more out of my intimate relationship. And then, you know, to cut to 3 years later, my marriage was ending. I made some really bad mistakes toward the end of my marriage, and I just got to this point where I was completely out of alignment with who I thought I was. And yeah, and my marriage ended, and then the crisis set in, and yeah, so I suppose 2021 to now has been, I've just had no choice. I've been forced to just evolve with the help of you guys.
So it's interesting you share that, because I've heard you say that to me before and I was like, wow, that's a really powerful way to describe it when you said the universe came down and started kind of shaking me. Like prior to actually making that change, what did that look like? Like when you say that, what was that?
I just needed deeper connection out of, which I have learned now is connection to self. To spend a lot of time searching for it outside myself if I know what's there.
So how are you doing that? When you say I was spending time searching for it outside of
Oh,
myself?
just trying to do more with work and win more work and feel validated that way, or, you know, or be a better mom and invest all this time in being a mom, and really putting pressure on my marriage. I wanted more out of my marriage, deeper intimacy and deeper connection. I was just wanting more and more and more to try and fill this void of feeling disconnected and kind of somewhat disassociated from myself and what I built.
Yeah. And so what was that like? Feeling disconnected and disassociated? So like
Sad.
Okay. So I'm feeling sad.
Sad, stressed,
Anxious. Yeah.
and there are lots of great feelings in there too.
Sure.
You know, my kids brought me so much joy, my work brought me joy, but there was this kind of undercurrent always of sort of a really heavy feeling of wanting more, and I'm being sad about that and feeling like my life was passing me by, and is this it?
Wow. Thank you for sharing. That's big. And I'm sure some people can probably relate to that or have had experienced that. If so, guys, do share us in the chat, because as we saw before, when we share authentically and vulnerably like that, we can really start to feel that connection. Go, oh, actually, I feel that way sometimes. I've had that experience myself. I get what it feels like to be in a relationship and have a life that looks great on paper, but perhaps, you know, be a bit sad about that because it's not getting me what I need, or not meeting the yearning that I have for something deeper, whether it be in a relationship or...
Yeah, and I think I shamed myself a lot around how I was feeling, because I was like, you had all your kids by the time you were 29, you're this young mom, and you've got this great career, and you've got 2 houses, and you live on acreage, and you've got this wonderful husband, and it's all tied up in a bow. So how dare I feel sad? So don't feel sad, just push it away and go and do more, and it'll sort itself out.
Wow, who relates to that one? I know I can certainly relate to that, where the head just says, if I just do more and I just do the next thing, or if I just get through this next little bit, then we'll be able to have what I want, have the relationship better, or maybe we can go away and have a little holiday or whatever it might be, and things will come good. Did that happen? Was that, how did that end?
I was like, it did not sort itself out. It sorted itself out in a way that I didn't plan it to sort itself out, and nor would I have I advise for that just to sort itself out. So marriage sort of ended and I left and was on my own and in a total crisis. Like I had never been on my own. I was, now essentially in a relationship since I was barely 21. Married at 24, kids by 29. I had built this whole life and then it was sort of essentially gone as I knew it. So that's when I suppose the real work really needed to start.
And so what came up then? Because I effectively, blew my life up a little bit. Relationships ended, marriage ended, I've had to move house and stuff. What came up when you say I had to start doing the work?
Oh, complete and utter fear. The most fear I've ever felt in my entire life. Grief. Like if you think about, I have been running away from those feelings for a long time. So those being there and having nowhere to go except up and out was really scary. The grief and I go even deeper than grief, like anguish of days of just sitting in my rental with hardly any furniture, just grieving. That was really, it was hectic. I felt like, I think I would say to you or Eve, like I feel like this baby lamb in a field and like there's nothing around, I'm just a sitting duck kind of thing. So that was really, really hard, but I knew that I had to go through it myself. I had to grieve some really dear friendships and that was really difficult. I think the advice I got was the moment you start to grieve these relationships, instead of trying to save them, you sort of set yourself free. That was the best advice I ever got. If there's anybody going through relationship breakdowns, it was just work on the grief, don't work on trying to save them. You can't control others. So it was scary. I think is probably the biggest feeling that I had was fear. Really
lovely honesty. And that's where it's at, guys, like changing this worldview and changing who I am and becoming the better version or best version of myself and actually really honoring myself. Like Dan said yesterday, it's not necessarily all unicorns and blowjobs, right? It's it can take some tough stuff. Not always, but it really does take facing myself and looking at some of the deepest parts of myself. What are some of the things that came up in that, Deanna? What are some of the things that have come up, like around what have I had to look at or unpack or work through, or what did I learn? Like I was running from something. What's the stuff in me that I was running from?
I'm team worthlessness over here. If we talk about core fears, I'm like captain of team worthlessness. So it was probably, there was a lot. What I learned about myself, I suppose I'll answer it in that way, is that I had conditioned myself over my life to be the easy, good girl. Don't have too many big emotions because that makes people uncomfortable. So push yours down. Keep everybody else happy. And that's not anybody's fault. I mean, if people look straight to their parents, mum, dad, it's not entirely your fault. But, I had, but that wasn't just in my home life, that was in when I was playing water polo with my coaches. It was just be the best, be easy, and things, nothing will go wrong, nothing will necessarily go right, or won't be particularly good, but everything will be okay. So I learned to people please. I was quite codependent in my relationships, in my particularly in my my family, my husband, my children, codependent on my children. It was all this self-abandonment to set myself on fire to keep others warm, which I used to kind of literally sometimes wear that as a badge of honor. I used to like the fact that I was the easy person until I actually realized that it's so fucking unhealthy and it made me so sad. So that's something that I have to continuously work on. The worthlessness manifested itself in, I don't even know what that was until I started to do this work, but I've been in and out of disordered eating addictions for years. It's sometimes active, sometimes inactive, but it's there. And then just learning about how to parent this bold voice in my head that was just so loud.
So give us some insight into that. Thank you for sharing. That's really authentic. So I've got this voice in my head that's so loud. I run this worthlessness, this people pleasing. You said it really well. I'll set myself on fire to keep you warm. What's it like living in a head like that?
It's just exhausting. I think really exhausting. but I didn't know any different. I just thought
That was
this
normal,
was
right?
normal, like to
Yeah, I
have
get
this
that.
voice to say, you didn't do a degree, so you're shit, so you gotta work harder to convince people that you know what you're doing. Righto. You know, or if you look this way, then, oh, and because you didn't do a degree, and you need to be this way, look this way, you'll win more work if you are this person.
Yeah.
You know, have it all together. And it was just constant. It was absolutely constant from the moment I woke up in the morning to the moment I went to bed at night. And if it wasn't about work, it was about be a better wife, do more things to make them love you, be a better mum, like everything. Appear to have it all together, because then you might have it all together.
Wow.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, wow, okay.
And I mean, it's not super quiet either now, like I'm still in the messy middle of all, you know.
Yeah,
this,
absolutely.
but I'm learning to just sort of notice it and parent it a lot better than
you had previously.
Yeah.
Fantastic, okay. And so you mentioned you went and saw a counsellor, did some work there, which was helpful. You also gone and done the, Brene Brown coaching accreditation.
Yeah.
Any awesome takeaways from that? Was that great?
Yeah, the one thing, I was about to say one big thing, but that's the acronym that I learned from that. She talks about braving trust and the acronyms for braving, but the living big, which is with boundaries, integrity, and generosity.
Wow.
For someone like me, who's a people pleaser, boundaries are terrifying, so terrifying in any, like having a voice and setting boundaries is huge for me. So I'm still learning to do that. Living with integrity is doing what you say you'll do.
Beautiful.
And then generosity, like it's better for me to live believing that everybody's doing the best that they can.
Yes.
I
love that.
And with that came this realization of just how judgmental I have been my entire life of others and people and little things. And I just almost feel really remorseful of how judgmental I've been.
Yeah.
So living big was that people are doing the best that they can, genuinely. I like to believe that.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. And it's really interesting for those of us, like, I love authenticity is great, where you talk about, hey, I just sense a little bit of, like you said, a bit of a remorse when you're like, holy shit, like how judgmental I was. And if we stop and actually reflect, the only way I can become judgmental of other people is when I've been really judgmental of myself, right? And so you point a finger, there's 3 pointing back, right? And so that's why that's there, is because I've been so critical of myself. I have to be this person, I have to be this wife, I have to be this mom, I have to be this, successful business person, fit person, whatever they are. And so I'm constantly judging myself. And so that is then the lens that I'm looking at the world through. And so I think that about everyone and everything. And so I start judging all of them as well.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's because I've been through a crisis time and a trauma time that it's like, well, you don't have a leg to stand on, you can't make a judge. But just genuinely, like, I can't, like, cool, each to their own. I would make that call, but pretty sure there are many people out there who would not have made the calls I've made over the past, 5 years. So yeah, that was huge, just how much I used to judge people.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so that brings us to now finally coming and starting to do your inner work. And it's funny because Eve, my partner, obviously, she's like, we've got to get Deanna in, you've got to help her. I'm just like, no, we're not going to go chase anyone, right? Like, it's got to feel right. It's got to be the right time. We've got to know. And I was just like, we're just not going to do that. Like, if she's interested and if she's curious, she'll come and she'll do the work. So you've been doing the work now. You've gone through the Coaches Academy. A, how did you find that? B, you're on the immersion now, so you're in the 12-month immersion. You're working with them. What's going on? What are you learning? Where are you at? What?
I think what am I learning? Where am I? I remember I'm going to go back a bit.
Okay, please.
Throw you under the bus.
Okay.
In February last year, I was in Canberra for work. And I was in the middle of this crisis, and I was dealing with some behaviours external to me, which were just really hard to go through. Awful. And I was in the hotel room, and I was fucked. Basically, I was in the fetal position, And Anthony rang because I hadn't been responding to the memes you've been sending me. And he's like, where is she? And I was like, in fetal position. I was like, I can't breathe, I'm in so much pain. And he was like, yeah, mate, this is abandonment pain. And you just have to weather it. You just got to go through it. You just have to feel it, sit here, you're going to sit in it, it's going to pass, but you got to do it. Don't numb out, just feel this. I'll sit here with you. I was like, oh, and that was the first time I realized how bad my mind was that was telling me, just go out on the road, get out on the road. My mind was convincing me that was the best place for me at 10 o'clock at night in the middle of Canberra. And you're on the phone going, probably don't go out onto the road. Just sit here, I'll put you on speakerphone and let's just go through this anyway. So I saved my life. Next morning, woke up, went for a run, was like, no, that's it. So I feel like that was a breakdown. So I kind of feel like I had this clean, I was ready. I had no other choice than to heal and evolve and move on because I was broken.
Yeah.
And then when we were sitting having lunch at Becafino, as we do, I was had some time off work and I said, I'm going to schedule a breakdown. I want to schedule a breakdown. I want to go somewhere where
Typical high performer. I'm going to schedule a meltdown.
Yeah. And where can I go to really break down? And then Anthony goes, literally over pizza and wine. Not wine, obviously it wasn't. Well, I mean, Eve said, oh, she could do the academy. And your response was, oh yeah, that'll smash him in the face. And I said, yeah, I like to be smashed in the face. Yeah, great, give me all the things. So I started this academy and it was like turbocharged inner work. And it was like just every single day that we were online and in session here, it was just literally like lining up core fears and all your old stories and just like I was like, oh shit, that was like, ah. So it just kind of was this really intense, and it was August, and I remember by September, I was just in a completely different place.
Wow.
I had just literally gone through and just, knocked off all of these crazy stories that I would tell myself that showed up so badly in my life. And just how insidious those stories are. And now I have the awareness that when something comes up, and it might be something so small, I'm like, oh, that's a story.
Yeah, wow.
Okay, well, thanks for coming, but we don't do that anymore.
So good.
So I suppose the change for me has been being able to identify when I'm in my mind and telling myself a story.
Yeah.
That's not helpful and that's not healthy and it's not serving me in line with my best day ever.
Absolutely, yeah. And so I love that, and that's a really critical learning, guys, that I think all of us, if we don't have, we should be striving toward, because your mind's saying, hey, go play in the traffic, literally.
Yeah,
and that was its solution, because the mind's always trying to move toward a good feeling away from an unpleasant one. When thoughts like that come up, we can often go, and some of us will have had similar thoughts on the call, I know I have, and we can go, oh, okay, like there's something wrong with me, I have this thought, but ultimately it's just my mind trying to solve this feeling that I'm having currently. And if nothing else is working, and if I'm curled up in the fetal position on the floor, if nothing else working, goes, okay, I know how we do this, let's get the fuck out of here, let's opt out.
Yeah. But the same mind that got me up in the morning was like, let's go for a beautiful long run around the lake. I was like, last night you were trying to get me walking in front of the traffic. Tonight you're telling me I need to go and zen out. Like the same mind.
Yeah.
It's very untrustworthy.
And so it's gaining mastery over that and having the awareness where, like you're saying, where I can now see everything differently. Go, oh, that's just a story. Oh, that's you just trying to avoid a feeling. Oh, that's you trying to, angle your way in here or get me to do X, Y, Z. That's actually not what's real for me. And now I can come back to my values, which we've spoken about earlier today, and go, what would that person do? Am I living in line with these values? Am I honoring myself?
Yeah. 100%. The best day ever was one of the best exercises I did.
Yeah,
because I had these set of values that I thought you should have because you are a mother and you have a career and these are your values because you should be living by those values. And when I did the work, I was like, they come up a little different to what I thought. They feel better for me. I feel more aligned and I can make decisions in line with those. I mean, when you say what would the best version of me do? I say, what would someone who truly love themselves do in this moment?
Wow.
And they would live in line with their values. So I'm just going to go and do that thing.
Fantastic.
Try to. I mean, not always.
No, I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
It's not always, guys. We're not seeking perfection here now. We don't turn into robots as a result of doing inner work. Like, I'm certainly not one either. But it is about that. If I'm doing it 8 out of 10 times, I'm going to be in a very different position than if I don't. Yeah. So, what's life like now? you know, and you're still in it, and you're still
Yeah,
going through it.
yeah,
I thought it was
yeah.
beneficial to do that,
Yeah, I'm in they call it the messy
the
middle.
messy middle.
Yeah. Life now, I'm still in the happy hurt healing kind of phase every day. I feel a lot more calm, and it comes with this sense of freedom, I think. Like I'm really free from having to be, do, and all of the things and be a certain way. I'm just kind of unapologetic about like me as I am
So
now.
good.
Like I'm like I fuck up, but I'm also really good at my job. I'd like to think I'm a really good mum. Like this is just me who I am right now.
Yeah.
And I used to, this work is a story about when I'd be sitting, particularly with work in a meeting, and I'd be like, I disagree with that, or I've got this idea. You don't know what you're talking about, just be quiet. If you say something, they might not want to work with you.
Yeah.
Now I kind of don't hold back those things.
Wow.
I trust myself enough to go, oh, well, I'm just going to say this and see which way this goes. But, you know, and then it's not going to be the end of the world. So I think I trust myself a little bit more, and I feel freer to just be.
So what I'm hearing, my language, I'm starting to feel safe to be myself.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm putting myself out there. I'm being unapologetically me. I'm not people pleasing as much or worrying about what other people think, or, you know, changing who I am, becoming a bit of a chameleon, you know, to fit in or to make sure you guys are happy. You know, when I did that for decades prior.
Yeah. And that's a big one. Like that's not it. Like that's probably, I'm in the messy middle of that one.
Yeah, of course, that evolves.
Oh yeah, it's a hard one to break down. And even just with the kids as well, the codependence on the kids was a really interesting one. I didn't realize you could be codependent on the kids, but you know, having to intercept a meltdown before they had a big feeling, and I thought that was my job. And now it's like, yeah, sorry, buddy, you can't go fishing for the 4th time today. You're gonna have to be sad and go be
deal
sad.
with that.
And, you know, I get it. I'll be here when you're done, but go scream into your pillow, or let's do it together. Have a good pillow scream. So but it's really, it's been a bit of a journey. It's still a journey, that one, to not fix problems. Yeah.
Okay. And so applying all those concepts, doing it, speaking up in the meeting, you know, honouring myself, not saving or rescuing the kids from their feelings. Just being, safe to be me. I guess you're doing it all, or applying it all now to the best of your ability. What are the results? Like, what's life like now on the other side, or, you know, in the messy middle?
In the messy middle. It's funny, it just kind of started happening, right? So in this crisis of, you know, leaving my relationship of 15 years, moving house, I left my job to start a business. Everyone was like, what is going on? I knew this must be so stressful, but it was just, as I started to live in line and make decisions in line with where I knew I needed to be, it just kind of kept rolling. And I feel, as I said, I feel a lot freer, I'm a lot less stressed, and I'm running a business now with a business partner who I connect with really deeply, and he's an absolute legend. He's one of the best humans I know. I feel really grateful to have him in my life, running this business together. You know, the money for some reason isn't really an issue. Money was always an issue, and now it's not. I'm making better decisions on that. The kids, we had a therapy session the other week at first, which was interesting. Reluctant little therapy session, but she said, what's mummy doing really well? And my daughter said, oh, her gentle parenting is really good. And I was like, yes. Wow. They don't remember when I lose my shit. They remember the gentle parenting. So clearly I'm nailing it at gentle parenting for now. And I just don't care as much about what other people think. And the biggest thing I reckon out of all of this is learning the art of surrender. I've just surrendered to, if you do this work, you can, all of that is just noise. Wow. I've just surrendered to other people's behavior, what they think of me. I've learned that what they own their feelings. It's not on me. If I do something that triggers you, they're yours. Sure, can't just walk around being an asshole.
Of course, but you're not. But that's not who you are in court. So I'm not going to be an asshole when I'm true to myself. And
the cool thing about it with work is that we're responsible for placing leaders in our state and our country into top jobs. And we are how we lead, right? And they're responsible for leading themselves and companies. and other people. So it would be really, for us to be able to connect so much deeper on a human level to our candidates,
Wow.
it would be irresponsible of us not to. Because if triggers drive emotions and emotions drive behaviours and decisions, we're mad not to be starting back looking at who they are as a human.
Totally.
And the conversations have completely opened up. My work conversations have changed completely to what they used to be.
Yep. And then relationships outside of work?
Relationships outside of work, friends and family. I've always been really, really sort of happy and secure in my friendships, particularly my really close friends. Again, the non-judgment thing, for me, I would always want to fix their problems. I kind of feel like I was someone that they come to for advice, and I thought they wanted me to give them advice and fix them. But in a way, I kind of realised that was quite judgmental as well. And by me wanting to fix their problem is sort of saying to them, well, you're not doing a good job at fixing your own problem, so I'll fix it. So yeah, friendships have been great. Obviously you guys, love you guys to bits. It's gotten a lot closer over the last 15 months. Relationship with kids, as I said, a lot more connected. Yeah, I think on the up and up. It's interesting when there are people who don't, as you said, when we first met, I was like, what? There's a lot of people who are like, oh shit, she's gone, I've just come back from a detox, and I was like, I'm gonna come back with a shaved head and tribal tattoos and excelled it. So I think there's probably a few people out there going, oh shit, is she gonna turn full spiritual ones? But as far now, I'm really happy with all those relationships.
Anyone who's on the call, and last question, anyone who's on the call and is like, okay, I know I need to change some things in my life. I know it's time for me to do the work. I'm a little bit scared, I'm a little bit fearful. I don't want to end up on the fetal position on the floor, or maybe I'll be there and I'm still pushing it down.
Yeah.
What's your advice?
My advice. I mean, for me, I got to the point where I kind of had to. I boiled the frog, that analogy. I got to the point where it was like, you got no other choice but to sort this shit out and go inward, go deep. There's so much shit going on out there, you just got to go inward. I think, honestly, one of the best things I did was, and I think it's the first session of coaching, which is best day ever. Like, I did the best day ever and was like, I am not living like that right now.
Yeah.
This is so far from where I was. And then I just got so curious about why. And so I think it's do something, I don't know, like do something like that around uncovering your values, who you are and how you want to be.
Yeah.
And then see where you're at. I mean, I do the gap analysis, right? It's like, oh, this is as is, this is too big, shit, I got a way to go. And then it's up to you. But the freedom that comes with living a life in line with your values, or getting up every day and knowing that if I just do these things, all the noise out there can be there. I keep my eyes on the boat, focus on my values, and it's freeing.
Amazing.
Was that answer your question?
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Guys, do we have any questions for Deanna? There's lots of messages that are coming through here. Powerhouse, thanks so much for sharing. I get it from the UK community. It just made me realize that insecurity is so personal and contextual, even though you might feel like you have a big sign on your head. Thanks for your vulnerability, Deanna. Thanks, Deanna. Also,
private school network in Brisbane is a strong thing that doesn't really exist elsewhere.
So fascinating.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
Feel the fear and do it anyway. Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nice one.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
See you, dude.
Bye.